Excel is one of the most important skills that every data analyst must have. In this video, I'm going to cover the most common Excel operations that you will be using as a data analyst. I am using a modified version of the Superstore data that is widely available on Kaggle. The dataset is fairly simple. You can see that this data contains ship mode, customer name, segment, countries, category of the product, subcategory of the product, sales, quantity, and so on. Okay. However, I have modified this particular data set. The data looks like this. This is messy because this is the representation of real world data. You can use the link in the description of this video to download this file. Now let's look at this file. The data here is squished in one column. So the first thing that I would like to do is I want to convert this into a table. So I'm going to select this entire column and then I'm going to click on this data tab and I am going to click on text to columns. I'm going to click on next and let's remove this so that you can see how this works. So here you have multiple options. You can add tabs, semicolon, commas, right? You can select the kind of delimiter. Now, if you look at this data, the delimiter that we have is the pipe operator. Therefore, I'm going to click on other and select the pipe operator. Once I do that, I can preview this data, right? I know how this data is going to look like once I complete or finish this particular wizard. So let's click on next and click on finish. Now let's resize this data. Awesome. The data has been resized. Now you can see that I have all the information. I have the row IDs, order dates, ship dates, and so on. The first thing that I always like to do is apply filter. So I'm going to click here and then again inside the data tab, there is this funnel like icon. Click on this filter. The reason we use filter is because it allows us to filter information. So for example, I can filter this entire data set to show me sales happening in the central region. Okay, so I can do this and I can see the sales made in the central region. The other reason for applying filters is the ability to quickly see the values of the data set. For example, we have 9,996 rows of data. However, if I click this particular button, I realize that under country, we have data only for United States. Okay, I can click on segment and I can see that there are 3 types of segments for which sales have been made. So this is the advantage of using filters. Now that is done, the third thing that I like to do is I always like to remove duplicates because I do not know where this data came from. Okay, so to remove duplicates, I'm going to select this entire sheet by clicking here. And then I am going to click on remove duplicates, which is again found in this data tab. So let's click on remove duplicates and see if our data has any duplicates. So upon removing duplicates, let's click OK. And then here you go. We find one duplicate value and Excel has removed that value. Awesome. Now we have a clean data set to begin with, right? We transformed the data. So we converted the data from single column and made it look like this. We removed duplicates and we've added filters. The next step is transforming the data. So I see that order date and ship date, they don't look right. This doesn't look like a date. So I'm going to click on home, click on this entire column and change this format to short date. Change this to short date and there you go. Now dates look like dates. The next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to add a new column called profit or loss. And the reason I'm going to do that is because in the profit column, I see some values that are negative. And my assumption is that if the profit value is greater than 0, then it's a profit. We made a profit. And if the value is less than 0, then we have made a loss. So to do that, we will write a formula. Whenever you write a formula in Excel, you always start with the equal to sign. So I'm going to write equal to if and I will select this particular cell, which is U2. Just simply click on it, and then I'm going to type U2 equal to or greater than equal to 0, and in double quotes I'm going to write profit, comma, loss. So what is happening here is we are telling Excel, if this particular value is greater than equal to 0, if this condition is equal to true, then it's profit. So I want to display profit. Otherwise, if this value is false, display loss. And there you go, profit and loss. Now I want this particular formula to be calculated for all 9,995 rows of data. And to do that, I am going to click, you see the small square here on the cell. I'm going to double click on that cell. And when I do that, the formula gets applied to all the rows. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to apply another transformation. If you look at these order IDs, the order IDs either start with CA or the order IDs start with US. Let's say we met with our stakeholders and they say that any order ID that starts from CA means that those orders have been shipped from the California warehouse. Any order IDs that have US as the prefix, those orders have been shipped from Texas warehouse. Okay, so there are a couple of things happening here. The first thing that we want to do is we want to extract the first two characters from this order ID. So let's call it warehouse category. Again, we have to write a formula. So I'm going to write equal to, and the formula for this is going to be mid. Okay. What text do we need? We need this, comma, a starting number is 1, right? Which starts with C, and how many characters do we need? So we need CA, that is 2 characters, US, again 2 characters. So I'm going to type in 2, 1, comma 2, and enter. And there you go. I get CA, US, CA, and so on. Again, I can add a new column called warehouse name. I can go here, type in if this equal to CA, comma, then we want to display California or we want to display Texas. All right. By the way, we did this in 2 different steps. You could have also done this in one single step, and let me show you how. Warehouse name in single step. We'll delete this column, but I want to show you how you can write this particular column. So equal to if mid, right, the first 2 characters of order ID. So mid, and I'm going to go here and select this, comma 1, comma 2. So we want to start from C. C is the first character. Therefore we type in 1, comma 2 because we want the next 2 characters. So C and A, right? If this equal to CA, then California or Texas. And we'll get the exact same results. Okay, I'm going to delete this. We have this information. So I just wanted to show you how you can write both these steps in one single formula. So let's delete this for now. Great. Now, the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to use another spreadsheet called Superstore PMs. And the spreadsheet looks like this. Again, the link to this file will be in the description of this video. So what do we have here? We have product managers for every subcategory. So if the subcategory is bookcase, the product manager is Tim Collins. If it is chair, Sandra Cruz, and so on. So what we need is we need to bring that product manager information in this column. So we need to bring the values from one particular from a different spreadsheet into this particular spreadsheet. So the first thing that I like to do is I always like to copy that information. So let's bring this sheet here. I'm going to copy this and I like to add it here. Control C, Control V, we have it here. Now I also like to name these sheets. So let's call this Superstore raw data, and let's call this, I can double click on that tab and call this product manager data. Okay. That way, when someone opens this spreadsheet, they exactly know what kind of data to expect in each of these tabs. Awesome. Now to bring the product manager information from this particular sheet to this particular sheet, right, to the Superstore raw data, we need to use something called as vlookups. Now this is a function that you will use several times in a day as a data analyst. It is equivalent to using joins in SQL or inner joins in SQL. Okay, so I'm going to call this column product manager, and let me move this to the right. Now to write a formula, we always start with equal to. So let's type in equal to. We are going to perform a vlookup. So I'm going to type in vlookup. What are we looking for? We are looking for bookcases. Okay. Comma. Where are we looking bookcases for? We are looking for bookcases in this entire table. Okay. So anytime it finds a bookcase, it's going to populate Tim Collins. Okay. Comma. What do I want to show? I want to show the product manager. So I'm going to type in 2, 0. Okay. Now one thing that I love to do is always add these dollar signs. And let's close this out and hit enter. And let's go here. And there you go. Okay. So let's look at this formula. What is it doing? It's looking for P2. P2 is bookcases. It's looking for bookcases in the product manager data tab, which is this tab. Okay. It's looking for this. Anytime it finds bookcases, it's going to display the second column. The second column in this particular table is product managers. Okay. It's going to display the product manager and bring that information here. Okay. And to apply this formula to all the other rows, simply double click on this particular cell. Awesome. Now the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to apply some pivot charts to this particular table. Okay. The data is not aggregated. This is just line item details. This is just details data. But typically when you're creating reports, we want to understand sales by category or sales by subcategory, our top product managers and so on. And that's what pivot tables allow us to do. So to create pivot tables, let's select this, go to insert and click on pivot table. Click on OK, and this will add a new worksheet. Again, I like to rename this worksheet. So I'm going to call this pivot table. Now the first thing that I need is I want sales by subcategory. So let's click on this and I want sales. So I can search for that field here, and sales is a value. What I mean by value is we are always going to sum sales. It's going to be an arithmetic operation, right? We are going to find a total amount of sales. So we always drag and drop this in values. Okay. So we get sum of sales. The next thing is we want to group this information by subcategory. So I'm going to type in sub and I am going to drag and drop this here. Okay. Once I drag and drop this here, my data looks like this. I see there's a blank row here. So I am going to filter out any blank information, and there you go. I have this information. Now this is by default sorted alphabetically, right? Accessories, appliances, art, and so on. What I really want is I want this to be sorted by sales. So I'm going to click on this filter, click on sort by. I want this sorted by sum of sales and I want descending. So I'm going to click on descending and there you go. Now I have the top selling products listed in a descending order. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is I want my top selling product manager. So I'm going to simply select this, Control C, copy this and paste it here. And now I'm going to remove this, right? I don't want subcategory. Instead, I want to replace this with product manager. So I'm going to remove this and put it back and search product manager, drag and drop it here. And there you go. I get product manager. Again, we have blank data here. So let's remove any blank information and let's arrange this in a descending order as well. And there you go. We have this in descending order. The next thing I need is my product distribution. So I am going to again copy this information, Control C, put it here. And now I'm going to remove this product manager and I want category. So I am going to drag and drop this here. Awesome. Again, I'm going to remove any blank values. So I have this information. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to start creating charts. So I'm going to click here on this particular pivot chart and I'm going to click on insert and I want a bar chart. So when I click on insert, I get these recommendations. Okay. So I am going to go here and click on a bar chart and it creates a bar chart for me. Let's resize this and let's give it a title. This is sales by subcategory. Let's do the same for this. I'm going to click here, insert. I want the exact same kind of chart. Let's go here and let's resize this. Let's call it sales by product manager. Now for this, what I really want, and let me zoom in a little bit. I don't want sales. I want percentage of total. So the way to do that is I can click here and I can say show values as percentage of grand total. So when I do that, instead of seeing the actual sales, I see that furniture now contributes to 32% of total sales. Office supply contributes to 31% and technology contributes to 36%. Now I want this to be displayed in a pie chart. So again, I'm going to select this particular pivot table, go to insert, and I'm going to click here and select this 2D pie and bring it here. And let's call it product. Actually do sales distribution by product category. Now I see that I can see the distribution, but almost looks equal. I don't see the underlying numbers. So I can click here and I can start to add some data labels. So when I click here, I can go to design and then I can click on add chart element and I see data labels and I can call it more data label options. And there you go. I see this. Go to label options and then I am only seeing values here, but I want to see values along with categories. So let's make this category and instead of comma, I want this on a new line. Same here. Let's put this on a new line. Category name, new line and new line. Looks much better. What we don't have here is any kind of trending chart. So I'm going to select this pivot table. I'm going to copy it here. And now I'm going to remove this and click on shift date. Let's actually add the shift date here. And there you go. Now, if you see, this has a lot of rows. I don't need daily trending data. I just need trending data by month and year. So I'm going to right click on this particular date, right? 1/7/14. I'm going to right click here and then I'm going to click on group. When I click on group, it's going to ask me what do you want to group this data by. So I want to group this data by month and years, and click on OK. Now our data looks like this. Let's remove any unwanted data. Okay, our data looks like this. This is fantastic. Now I can add a line chart to this particular pivot chart. So again, I have clicked or selected this particular column, going to go on insert, and I am going to click on this, and there you go. I have my trending charts. Okay, let's relabel this, call this sales trend. Now the final step, which is to create a dashboard. So let's click on this, the plus sign, which will open this new tab. Let's rename this, call it sales dashboard. And now I don't want these grids to be seen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this entire spreadsheet and I'm going to apply a light gray theme to it. Okay. Now somewhere here, let's say here, I'm going to type in sales dashboard, and I am going to increase the size of this text. Right, make it bold. Awesome. Now I'm going to go back to the pivot table and I'm going to start copying these visualizations. So Control C, go to sales dashboard, and Control V. Now let's resize them. So I want this here. Let's remove this. I want this here. I want this here. Let me resize this. And then I want this on top. Awesome. So our dashboard looks something like this, where very quickly you can see sales by subcategory, sales by product manager, you can see the sales trend, and you can see the sales distribution by product category. What we don't have is filters. Let's say if I wanted to see what the sales by subcategory was for region West or central region or for a particular warehouse, I don't have the ability to do that. So we'll add something called as slicers. So let's click on this and click on, believe it's in design. No, sorry, it's an insert. And I am going to click on slicer. Once slicer opens, I am going to select, let's say segment. We'll select region. We'll select warehouse name and click on OK. And we'll get these panels. What I'm also going to do is I am going to select this area. Let's go up until here, and I am going to give this a darker shade of gray because this is where all our filters are going to live. And now I'm going to drag and drop these filters here. Let's resize them. And resizing them. Awesome. Now let's give this a try. So let's say if I want to see information for the central region, when I click on this, the data changes. However, the data doesn't change for all these three tables. So we need to link these reports to this filters, right? To these filters. So let's click here and right click, and there should be a button called report connections. So I have this option. I'm going to click on report connections, and let's click on all these tables. Let's do the same thing for warehouse name, report connections, click on OK, report connections, and click on OK. Awesome. Now our dashboard is done. We can select California, and now as you can see, the data changes. I can select Texas, East Coast, South Coast, West Coast, Central region, and so on, right? And that's all. You have created your first sales dashboard in Excel. And we learned 8 core concepts that you will use every day as a data analyst. We learned how to handle messy data, and we converted the text information into columns to create that structured table. Then we learned how to remove duplicates. We learned how to filter data. We learned how to change the format. We created a new column using Excel formula to identify as profit and loss. Then we created another formula based column to extract the first 2 characters from the order ID. We used vlookups to populate the product manager information. We created pivot tables, and then finally we used pivot charts and created your entire sales dashboard. But this is not the end. I encourage you to try out different visualizations and see what you can do with Excel. Excel is a very, very powerful tool. So feel free to explore. Once you've built the sales dashboard, add this to your project portfolio. If you used my YouTube link to build your sales dashboard, let me know in the comment section, and also share your progress on LinkedIn. I hope you found this video valuable. There are tons of videos on my YouTube channel that teaches you how to create visualizations, perform sentiment analysis. There's an entire playlist on SQL. So if you enjoy the content around data, subscribe now, and I'll see you in the next video.